Welcome to TRT World. I'm Nadja Muftic, and in this week's Across the Balkans, we bring you the latest stories from the region and how countries, governments and the people are affected. A recent report from the United Nations Food and Agriculture Organization warns that the ongoing tensions in the Persian Gulf have increased risks to global agri-food systems. In the Balkans, the crisis has driven up fuel and fertilizer prices, placing a strain on farmers. Adama Munu has more.
The attacks by the US and Israel on Iran since the 28th of February severely disrupted shipping through the Strait of Hormuz, a key route for oil, gas, and also for fertilizers. Farmers around the world have been facing fertilizer shortages and rising costs, which could lead to higher food prices later this year. The UN's Food and Agriculture Organization reported that the disruption has stalled an estimated 3 to 4 million tons of fertilizer trade per month.
Why is this important? Because as a key input for the agri-food systems, it's a key input for the planting season, and it's a key input that will, of course, affect how much I will plant in the future. So it's not only an impact for today, but could also be an impact if this continues for a longer period for tomorrow.
Kushtrim Ayvasi is the manager of a potato chip company, which exports a variety of snacks and owns nearly 100 acres of potato fields in eastern Kosovo. Kosovo has faced a steep rise in fuel prices. Bad news for a country that doesn't produce its own fuel and is in the midst of planting crops.
Në fillimin e luftës në Iran, ajo çka kemi afektuar automatikisht ne është çmimi i derivateve në treg. Na jemi tash në sezonin e mbjelljeve të patatës, që po shihet këtu, domethënë çmimi është rrit ngjeshëm për €1 cent, mesatërisht ka shkuar deri në €1 cent, është kosto jashtëzakonisht i lartë. Në këtë rast, kjo rritje e kostos ka më ndikuar direkt edhe në kostot përcjellëse deri te finalizimi i prodhimit.
Everyone is concerned about what's happening right now because, as I said, the yield costs are to the roof right now, are very high. And when it comes to the way we're going to farm from now on, I have to say that we have to be very prudent. We've always been prudent, but right now we're trying to be as prudent as possible. And until now, I was the kind of farmer, and not only me, a lot of farmers in La Paz were the kind of farmer that would say, okay, we have to have the highest performance, we have to have the highest yield because we have what we need. We have a very good land, some of us can irrigate, but we have very good machinery. But right now, the way we're seeing things is we don't need the highest yield, we need to be as efficient as possible. And in my case, I think I will just basically decrease a little bit of the amount of nitrogen that I'm using. I'll reduce the passes with machinery on the field. I'll look again on let's say, the amount of pesticides that I'm willing to use. And to a certain extent, I think I'm going to have a decrease in yield.
Agricultural market analysts say the latest escalation with Iran added strain to an already difficult situation for Romanian farmers.
Since summer, the Romanian government increased the taxes, eliminate some facilities for agricultural environment, meaning that farmers and processors, and from that start a big burden on the agricultural sector in Romania. But right now, this is somehow we could consider the climax on nowadays, because we make a comparison based on figures, on the correct and right figures, with November 2025. Yes, the costs start to become higher, and the scarcity of the fuel start to show let's say this kind of a shadow under the farmers, because they call me and they ask me that they need to increase the volume that they need to purchase right now, and the sowing window for the spring crops, it's getting shorter. Because around 1st of May we will end up with sowing the spring crops. So all in one, it's a terrible burden on the agricultural and environment here right now in Romania. Nevertheless, we have, and we need to say that, because it's a positive fact also, We were, let's say, gratulated with the rains starting with September 2025 till now.
Countries in the Balkans have already put in place measures to ease the effects on farmers. Hungary, Albania, and Serbia, for instance, have introduced special diesel prices or reduced the state tax income. The coming months will reveal just how far-reaching these will be for the region and the global community. Adam Aminu across the Balkans.
I spoke with Dr. Fatih Tuna, an international relation analyst, as global tensions cast a long shadow over the Balkan region, from rising risks in food, energy and tourism to deeper geopolitical questions. I asked whether the Balkans could move beyond being a passive observer. We also discussed the differing position across the region and the growing influence of Turkey on its future. Dr. Tuna, welcome to Across the Balkans. It's a pleasure to have you here with us.
Thank you very much. I thank you to have me.
Thank you. So, how at risk is the Balkans, particularly in key sectors such as food, energy and tourism maybe?
The Hormuz Straits contains all 20-25% of the world oil passes through the Hormuz Straits. It's very normal that it's going to affect everybody, not just Balkans. Maybe the surrounding countries affected severely or more or in a short term. But even mid-term or long term will affect Balkans and whole Europe, which it also triggers the inflation rates in many countries now suffering from it. This is for energy aspect of it. The food, as you mentioned, the transportation cost or the farm and fertilizers cost also affecting the food that we receive or deliver to our home. It's inevitable. We cannot avoid that. So very naturally will be, and we also, the whole expert that fears that this effect of the food sector gonna go more and more, which is affecting every individual in the world. Yes, as you mentioned, Balkans coming towards the region gets affected more or severe than others. And the other side of it, that tourism also we could say, especially in the Balkan countries, by the seaside countries like Montenegro and Croatia and the Central Balkan countries.
Even one part of Bosnia,
Yes, you have received many tourists around the world, Europeans, and even I know that some extent from Turkiye, it will be affected in the tourism level too. And also, if I'm not wrong, Montenegro, for example, they get 15 to 20% of their internal income from the tourism sector. So it's going to affect everybody. Unfortunately, it's not being managed properly, and globally also it's not managed properly, and now whole country is going to be affected more and more.
How do you see the role of the Balkans in such global crisis? Does the region remain a passive observer, or can it play a more active geopolitical and economic role?
Well, Balkan countries has some geographical point or situation that historically many incidents happened in the Balkan area. You could think that First World War, after Second World War, even in the 90s, the Balkan countries was facing some incident or historical moments that they are not directly related. Some other fights goes on within the Balkan territories. Because the Balkan countries are in a landmass through Turkey to Middle East, Caucasia, and Central Asia. And another feature of the Balkan states that you are the last point before the European countries. So you're bound to be affected. Anything goes through that region. So you cannot avoid that. And it has happened years and years, or incident to incident we see that. What is important here, what Turkey's role with the Balkan country, that's really significantly make a difference. We are always having a good relation with globally main dominant countries around the world, and that is also gives us a mediator role for any problem Balkans or our region facing. So maybe the Balkan countries could create them stronger ties with Turkey and avoid that incidents damage less as possible, I would say.
That was good. Why is the conflict between United States, Israel and Iran happening now, and what does it mean for the world? Like, seriously, why it's now? Why it wasn't happened like 1 year before?
Actually, it's happening today, but it started long ago. In my opinion, my personal opinion, that after the Second World War, or even the First World War, there was a world order, established an order who won these two big wars. So that order created an atmosphere for every country in the world, like United Nations, NATO, EU, or other institutions. In my opinion, most of those institutions, including NATO, or especially United Nations, they are not effective anymore. And they are not doing their job properly. So one of the politicians said today, the world order has died, but a new one hasn't born yet. So we are facing that time. You and me, all of us here now, we are witnessing a historical change. We are just right in the middle of it. Especially Turkey, right in the center. So why now? Because of these tensions, especially look at our region. Last incident, the Gaza problem. Now the Iranian problem. And before Iraq and Gulf countries, go back to Libya, Yemen, Syria, you name it. Everything happening in our region. So it's not today's problem. Today's problem is the result. Because of, for example, the Israeli aggressive, as you know, the policy and attacking all the countries around us, of course, this result was coming. So we are facing it now. As I said, every individual now, maybe we don't notice now, 50 years or 100 years later, history will write today that the change of time that we now in the middle of it.
We had the COVID pandemic, and now we have this kind of crisis. So seriously, this kind of chaos, how you think that average people, the populations, can stand? Can we live normal after this at all?
Well, I mean, yes, nothing going to be the same as it was. Everything going to change. This could be traumatic, or could be like my president keeps saying every day, that there is still a room for diplomacy, which actually this is only he is the one saying that to the world. And I have to say, yes, it depends on the people how they react to this result, because we live here. These people are our neighbors. One by one, all these countries that I just mentioned before are our neighbors. We live with them 1,000 years. Some of the imperial powers, they come, bomb, and go, but we are here. So looking at the same problem, how they look at it and how we look at it is totally different. We are not looking at it in a winning or losing point. We're looking at it in a humanitarian way. As you mentioned, the COVID and other problems, Turkey's reaction with our leadership, our Recep Tayyip Erdogan, our president, we are always looking at a human level. But outsiders or Western powers, not necessarily always looking at that point. Maybe they never look at that point.
How can the Balkans respond to the economic and political effects of the Middle East conflict? And can the region play any role in stabilizing the situation?
Well, what I could say is that, as you know, the Balkan countries in the transpassing in the middle of the Western and Eastern powers. So what they could do, in my opinion, they can diversify their energy resources. As you know, we have a Türk Akımı and TANAP pipeline through Azerbaijan, and Russian oil goes through the Europe. That's an example. That's what we have been doing. What we did actually as Turkey, these energy lines, they are not coincidental. They were planned for to the result as today. Now we are not affected much this crisis as many other countries. So Balkan countries can also use that ability or that opportunity to diversify their energy sources to cope with the global crisis as we are facing today. That's the main thing they can do. And again, another point that I have to make, we and the Balkan countries and Turkey should get closer more and more in many ways, which we are, but there are so much room to improve that, I believe.
Everything that you said, would you think that Balkan countries would be allowed, especially, for example, Bosnia and Herzegovina, to do such a kind of things that you just said?
Balkan countries, they may not be free as we are, as you said, because of their institution, but we are also a member of their institution, and we can say no when is needed.
What do you think about the different position of Balkan countries on the conflict between United States, Israel and Iran, and how could these differences affect the region?
Well, Yes, you mentioned the differences. Obviously, there are some different opinions from certain things, like today's war. Some of them are supporting Israel and America. Some of them are neutral. Some of them don't even say what they think.
Yeah.
So this is the nature of the country. But the problem here, in my opinion, in the international global foreign policy or policy makers, when they look at the Balkan, either they will look at it as a bloc, Balkan countries, or there are some countries that they are fighting each other, or they are not, or they are competing with each other, which I believe they undermine their foreign policy. So they need to decide what they're going to do. Again, I have to mention, Turkey would be the very good partner for them to stand up when it's needed, or make a policy for their own benefit, or as my president said, a win-win position for everybody can win. Depends on how they're going to react in the end. As I said before, Balkan countries strategically in a very important position, but there are so many problems, so many tensions between each other, which everybody knows that. So with Turkey's mediating role and Turkey's historical background and cultural affiliation or cultural togetherness can help, even though declining the problem internally in the Balkan countries.
Thank you so much,
My
Dr.
pleasure.
Tuna. It was a pleasure to have you
Thank
here
you very
with
much.
us.
Thank you for having me on your program. Thank you.
The upcoming summer tourist season is rife with uncertainty. Prospective travelers are delaying confirming their vacation plans due to the latest developments in the Middle East and North Africa. How will this affect or benefit the tourism sector in the Balkan region? Azra Vildic reports.
Flight cancellations and heightened safety concerns stemming from the Middle East and North Africa regions. Ongoing conflicts continue to send shockwaves around the world. The situation remains uncertain, even as a 2-week ceasefire has gone into effect. As spring unfolds across Europe and the Balkans, it typically signals a strong start to the summer tourism season. However, this year the industry faces growing uncertainty, with bookings slowing at a critical time. In Bulgaria, concerns are mounting, as summer bookings appear significantly lower than last year. The ongoing tension in the Middle East have seen fuel and energy prices fluctuate, driving travel costs higher and putting additional pressure on the tourism sector. But one industry professional believes all is not lost.
Има значение колко ще е продължителен конфликта и съответно с това какви ефекти ще има върху икономиката и върху поведението на потребителите. Ако допуснем, че това ще трае 4-5 седмици, съвсем спокойно може да очакваме подновяване на вълната на записванията.
Despite the slowdown, industry players remain cautiously optimistic, hoping the Balkans could attract more travelers.
Има драстичен спад, естествено, за дестинации като Дубай, Египет, Тунис. Хората взимат решение да пътуват на по-безопасни места. От тази гледна точка България би могла за пореден път да се възползва от тази ситуация.
Looking ahead to the summer season, the Balkans are encouraged by robust revenue figures from last year and an increase in early 2026 visits. Serbia saw a 40% increase in tourist arrivals in February compared to 2025. Croatia welcomed approximately 610,000 tourists at the start of 2026. Bosnia and Herzegovina also enjoyed a 12.7% increase in arrivals. Meanwhile, Albania and North Macedonia are also seeing strong momentum, with tourism demand projected to grow by 30%. Tourism advisor Faruk Çalık is optimistic about the outlook for Balkans.
The Balkans, including Bosnia and Herzegovina and Sarajevo, are increasingly recognized as safe, authentic, and still relatively undiscovered destination. So yes, in certain segments, especially long-haul travelers, we do expect a partial redirection. However, it is important to say that we are not positioning ourselves only as an alternative to crisis regions, but as a destination with its own strong identity and a year-round offer.
Çalık says, while uncertainty is affecting booking patterns, Early data suggests the demand remains steady.
Well, at this moment, we are not seeing a significant slowdown in Sarajevo canton. Even, well, we see even increase a little bit. Sarajevo has a very diversified market structure, from regional visitors to Western Europe and the Middle East, which gives us certain level of resilience. So rather than a slowdown, we would describe the situation as a shift in booking behavior with more last-minute decisions.
He also foresees potential benefits for the region, despite these challenges.
Rising travel costs are definitely influencing how people plan their trips, of course. Travelers are becoming more selective, they are looking for value for money. Shorter stays or destinations that offer a rich experience with a compact area. And in that sense, Bosnia and Herzegovina and Sarajevo in particular are very well positioned. I have to say that this football success that we had last week, we are very happy because it would be like a wonderful promotion of Bosnia and Herzegovina. We expect a good response from their success.
As the summer season approaches, all eyes will be on the Balkans to see whether they can turn the current challenges into opportunities, as revealed across the Balkans.
The expansion of the hotel industry on the Greek island Milos is raising concerns. Tourists are flocking to the fishing village every year, but locals are worried that all the construction will change the very fabric of what makes the island special. Adam Amunu has the story.
Known for its picturesque and volcanic rock, the Greek island of Milos is home to 5,000 inhabitants and has become a magnet for visitors. It boasts colourful houses with boat garages on the ground. Fishermen originally used to store their boats on the ground, but the majority of these have been turned into Airbnb houses to accommodate visitors to the island.
Τώρα τα βρίσκουν οικόπεδα και χτίζουν μεγάλα πεντάστερα ξενοδοχεία. Τώρα που θα φτάσει αυτό το πράγμα δεν ξέρω. Άλλοι είναι οι αρμόδιοι.
Tourism is important for Greece's economy, as it contributes over a third to the country's GDP, according to the Greek Tourism Confederation. But Milos is one of the islands some locals say is being threatened by a real estate and tourism boom. In the harbour town of Adamas, a vast construction site has broken through the island's trademark volcanic rock. The foundations offer a hotel extension, which Greece's top administrative court temporarily blocked. The island's mayor describes the project as an environmental crime.
Το νησί αυτό έχει μια ταυτότητα. Η γεωλογική μοναδικότητά του το έχει κάνει γνωστό σε όλο τον κόσμο. Δεν θέλουμε να αλλάξει ταυτότητα το νησί. Έχει χώρο για να εγκατασταθεί και νέα μονάδα και να μπουν και άλλοι επιχειρηματίες και να φτιαχτούν και υποδομές. Αυτό θα στηρίξουμε και θα κρατήσουμε αναλύωτα τα σημεία τα μοναδικά μας.
But not everyone here is pessimistic.
Αν κρατήσουν χαμηλή τη δόμηση, τουλάχιστον να μην γίνονται θηρία, να υπάρξει ανάπτυξη. Θεμιτό είναι και οι άνθρωποι εδώ πέρα δεν θέλουν να μην αναπτυχθεί το νησί τους. Έτσι, απλά να υπάρχει μια σοβαρή και ήπια ανάπτυξη. Δεν χρειάζεται να γίνει Σαντορίνη μέσα σε 5 χρόνια.
Santorini is part of the country's enduring summer travel brand, with its famed sea blue church domes. But with around 3.4 million visitors per year, officials here are also considering restrictions to curb pressures on aging buildings and prevent the pricing out of locals from the housing market.
The arrival of big numbers of people put a serious strain on the local infrastructure. Our roads were never designed for this many thousands of people. Our narrow cobblestone streets were not designed for this either. The seating capacity in towns like Ia is also limited and is not able to deliver for these thousands and thousands of people who arrive in such a short amount of time. And the result of all this is exactly this. A not ideal experience when coming to this otherwise amazing destination.
But there are signs of a slowdown. Santorini last year saw a 12.8% drop in air arrivals between June and September. Islands like Milos have been forming for millennia without much disruption. And while change is always afoot, decisions on tourism made here may shape not just the islands, but the future of Greek tourism itself. Adam Amunu, across the Balkans.
Thank you for watching TRT World and letting us once again take you across the Balkans. That is all from the team for this week. We hope to see you next time.